I've moved out, so your house is gone. It must be tough without a place to call home, my mother-in-law said happily on the phone. I just responded with a quiet, She continued, enjoy your life in your new home. I replied, yes, thank you, and please never come back to my house. After all, you'll be getting a divorce. Then she hung up. I stood at the airport, feeling not angry, but happy. I clenched my fist in a small victory and walked home feeling light. My name is Emma. My husband, David, had to go work abroad soon after we got married, so we had to live apart for a short while. David and I had been dating for 5 years before we got married, and we had lived together too. We trusted each other a lot because of our long relationship. I wasn't worried about David cheating on me. I just hoped he stayed safe while he was away. Our days should have been calm, even though sometimes I felt lonely. But things got complicated when my mother-in-law decided to move into our house. She got divorced when David was young. When she found out David was going overseas, she said, I'll keep an eye on you, Emma, to make sure you don't cheat. She started living in our house without asking us first. It turns out she was cheated on and left by my father-in-law, who disappeared afterwards. Worried the same thing might happen to David, she decided to watch over me. But her constant spying made life really hard. I felt desperate, so I asked David for help. He kept telling his mom to leave, but she wouldn't listen. David trusts you too much, Emma. I can tell you'll cheat. She accused me for no reason, giving me a headache every day. No matter what I did, she thought I was being unfaithful. She wouldn't even cook dinner for me. She'd use food from the fridge to make her own meals, never leaving any for me, and she didn't buy groceries herself. She used the ones I bought, leaving me with nothing when I came home. I complained about it, but my mother-in-law didn't seem to care or listen. I bet you're out having dinner with your boyfriend since you're cheating, she'd say, which made me really upset. Even when I came home late from work and started cooking, she'd make a scene, saying, you must be cheating if you come home at this hour, leaving your mother-in-law alone. During my busy work times when I often came home late, she'd always accuse me of cheating. It stressed me out so much that I felt sick. Please, I'm begging you, just leave. I'm not cheating. I really love David, I told her. David, who was too busy to come back to the U.S., tried his best to get his mother to leave, but her response was disheartening. So you want me to leave that badly? You must be cheating after all, she said. At that point, I could only sigh. On my day off, I went out to meet a friend, and once again my mother-in-law accused me of cheating. She was determined to catch me in the act and clumsily tried to follow me. She hid behind lampposts and her house's brick wall, trying to stay out of sight. I just ignored her and went on with my plans. I met up with my friend at a cafe, grumbling quietly so my mother-in-law wouldn't hear. Suddenly, I saw flashes of light. She was taking pictures of me. My friend, Abby, who I've known since our student days, looked suspicious and asked, "What's that?" Abby, being tough, started to get up, saying, "Should I say something to her?" But I quickly convinced her to stay seated. No, please stay, Abby." Abby had a pixie cut and wore street-style clothes, which made her look a bit like a man. I joked that my mother-in-law might have thought she was a guy, which made Abby burst out laughing. Finding the situation amusing, Abby leaned closer to me, pretending to hold my hand to tease my mother-in-law. Each time my mother-in-law took a picture, she seemed thrilled, snapping away while her nostrils flared with excitement. It was so ridiculous that I couldn't help but laugh along. After witnessing my mother-in-law's silly antics, I felt relieved and went shopping with Abby before we said goodbye. But as expected, my mother-in-law followed me home, hiding behind lampposts and walls just like before. Sometimes I'd play a quick game of red light, green light with her, and she'd scurry off to hide. It was amusing, and I found myself joining in her ridiculous game. I couldn't help but think how foolish she was to believe that I didn't notice her following me. When I got home and started taking off my shoes, she rushed in excitedly. If she was tailing me, she could have at least waited a bit before coming back. I was surprised when she showed me a disposable camera. "Emma, I finally caught proof of your cheating. I'm going to send these to David, so get ready." "Oh, really? Good luck with that," I said casually, which she didn't like. She spent the rest of the time buzzing around me like a nagging child. "Are you okay with this? It's proof of cheating. Your face and his are clear in the photos." But I just calmly kept saying, "That's fine." It was unfortunate that Abby's appearance sometimes led to her being mistaken for a man, but David knew her well from before we got married. So even if my mother-in-law sent a photo of me with Abby to David, he'd probably recognize her as just a friend. Despite enduring my mother-in-law's ridiculous schemes, I suddenly had to go on a business trip overseas. It was a shame I wouldn't get to see David because it was in a different country, but it couldn't be helped. I told my mother-in-law about my trip, although I didn't ask for her opinion. But in her mind, it seemed like a romantic getaway. As I got ready for my trip, my mother-in-law smirked and said, "It'll be a big problem if you come back pregnant from your romantic getaway. David hasn't seen you in a while, so it won't be easy to pretend the baby is his." Her distasteful thoughts made it pointless to argue back. I replied casually, "Yeah, it's just a business trip, not a romantic getaway," and headed off. The trip was really busy, and the days passed by quickly in a blur. When I finally got back to the US, I was exhausted. My boss, who had also been on the trip, seemed tired too and went home. I had planned to grab some duty-free sweets before heading home, so I took a break on a bench. Just then, my phone rang. It was Abby calling, and she had something surprising to tell me. "Hey Emma, welcome back. There's something I need to tell you. Your mother-in-law showed up at the company where I work." "What?" "Abby's family's company isn't the kind of place just anyone visits." Hearing that my mother-in-law went there made me really angry. Abby explained how she handled the situation and asked if she went too far. I replied, "No, I think it was just right." After laughing and ending the call with Abby, I was about to leave when I got another call from my mother-in-law. "Emma, you should be back from your trip now. Did you enjoy your affair trip?" I said, it wasn't an affair trip, and I didn't particularly enjoy it because I went there for work. "Well, I've already sent David the evidence photos." I simply responded with, "I see," to my mother-in-law, who seemed pleased with herself. Ignoring my lack of reaction, she just kept on talking. "Actually, I moved, so your house is no longer there. I sold the old house. So you must be struggling without a place to go back to. But hang in there," my mother-in-law cheerfully said. I responded with an uninterested huh as she laughed happily. "Enjoy your life in your new house." "Thank you, and please never come back to our house. After all, you're going to be divorced soon." After my mother-in-law hung up, I stood in the airport for a while. But slowly, I felt better. It wasn't anger in my heart, but joy. I did it. I pumped my fist a little and started my journey home with a light step. Of course, I was going back to the house my mother-in-law claimed she had sold. Maybe she had taken out the furniture. Even though a lot of things were missing, I accepted it as a parting gift. I quickly called a locksmith to replace the front door lock, ensuring my mother-in-law couldn't get in even if she tried to return. Then I sprawled out in the living room, basking in the freedom I had finally achieved. Inside the house, I pumped my fist again and shouted, "I did it." The next day, I received a call from my mother-in-law. "What's wrong?" I asked her with a hint of malice. She sounded flustered and trembled as she spoke. "Actually, I thought I sold the house. But it turns out I didn't. It seems I borrowed money without realizing it. Debt collectors are coming, and it's really scary." "That sounds terrifying," I replied, realizing that the company she unknowingly visited, thinking it was Abby's parents, was actually a real estate company on the surface, but secretly involved in loan sharking. According to Abby, they had warned her multiple times that the house couldn't be sold. The house was in David's name, so she couldn't just sell it on her own. After being rejected by all the real estate agencies she approached, she ended up at the company run by Abby's parents. Desperate to sell the house, they gave her a promissory note to sign, without her realizing the true implications. The document obligated her to repay a large debt, with the daunting requirement of $1,000 to be paid every day. She managed to pay off the debt collectors for today, but she didn't have the means to come up with that amount every day from tomorrow onwards. So she came to me in tears, pleading, "Please, Emma, you have to help me. The debt collectors have been pounding at my door since dawn. It's terrifying. I can't sleep well, and I don't have much money. I used the borrowed money to buy a new house, so I don't have any savings left. How about this? Please transfer $10,000 to my account every week until I've paid off the debt." But honestly, do you think there will ever be a day when we can pay off this company's debt? Even if we combine my income with David's, it's impossible to come up with that much money every week. I'm sorry, but your only option is to work hard and earn it yourself. What? Like there's a job out there where I can make $1,000 every day. Well, why not try talking to the company you borrowed money from? Maybe they can help you find a good job. I meant it as a joke, but my confused mother-in-law responded, Really? Then I'll go and see, and hung up. I sighed to myself, realizing there was no stopping my mother-in-law now. Later, I heard from Abby that my mother-in-law had suddenly shown up at the company and said, I have no choice but to work because I have no money. Is there a simple and easy job where I can earn more than $1,000 a day? Abby and her team managed to find my mother-in-law a job, but it wasn't what she expected. The company was one where many employees lived in rundown shacks serving as dormitories. At this company, the workers toiled tirelessly day and night, often doing physically demanding labor. Even elderly individuals were pushed to work relentlessly. My mother-in-law seemed to be working herself to exhaustion. The workplace dormitories were fenced in with barbed wire, resembling a prison, and employees were blindfolded and transported to and from work in vans, leaving them unaware of their location. She'll be free, won't she? She can pay off the debt, if that day ever comes, Abby said with a smile. She's a dear friend of mine, but I can't help feeling a bit frightened for my mother-in-law. Several weeks after my mother-in-law disappeared, David's overseas assignment ended, and he returned home. When I explained what had happened to David, he simply said, There's nothing we can do about my mom. All we can do is wish her well from a distance. It became clear that David never really got along with his mother. While he tolerated her because she was his mother, it seemed he had run out of patience with her constant suspicions about me, his wife. When I asked David of the supposed evidence photos of my infidelity, he said, Oh yeah, as if he had forgotten, and handed me a photo from his bag. That's Abby, right? I have no idea why my mom would think this is proof of infidelity. I actually had a big argument with her on the phone. I told her I cut ties as she kept suspecting you, Emma, but she wouldn't listen. It really frustrated me, but I thought this was a good picture, so I brought it home. It's true, my mother-in-law might have had a talent for photography. What a shame. The photo she took of Abby and me, with the beautiful scenery in the background, had a certain style, like a page from a photo album. It was amusing how Abby was playfully making a peace sign behind her back. That was just so like her. We really owe Abby a lot. We should visit her properly sometime soon. Just be careful not to sign any documents she might try to give you. I'll never sign anything from Abby. David and I chuckled together. Finally, we were able to live like a newlywed couple. We had no idea what happened to my mother-in-law after that, but she's probably still working hard somewhere in the States. We could have found out where she was by asking Abby, but neither David nor I had any desire to track her down. David and I continued to live happily together, and eventually we welcomed our first child. We're enjoying our blissful days together.